So this is every primary 3D printing process explained. Okay, so the first process that you have is FDM. FDM is fused deposition modeling. It is basically back when you were making in kindergarten and you were rolling out snakes and then you coiled up a pot. That is exactly what FDM is. FDM allows you to grow a part basically as a continuous coil with a hot nozzle squirting out thermoplastic. FDM is very cheap. FDM can produce hundreds of thousands of parts very affordably, and FDM can create reasonable part properties, but you really need to design for the process. The other primary process is resin. Resin 3D printing can be DLP or SLA or any number of other ones that exist out there. Basically, you use light to harden a resin. So you have a top plate that goes down into a vat of resin. That vat of resin has a light underneath it. That light flashes a pattern onto it to project and harden that layer. And then it moves up, resin moves in, and then it flashes another layer. And that's how you grow a part out of that. Resin is really good for isotropic parts, reasonably isotropic parts. A little faster print speeds, and if you're doing production, it's good for small parts like this where you can fill up a whole bed with hundreds of small pieces. But it has a lot of post-processing in it. You have to wash the parts, you have to cure the parts, and then you probably have to snip off supports or something. So again, design is really important, but it creates basically injection molded quality parts as far as surface finish. Materials are pretty limited on these, but they are getting better and they are growing quickly. The other primary process is powder jetting, and this one splits into a gajillion different 3D printing process. There's multi-jet fusion, there's binder jetting, there's sintering, there's all of these things. But basically, at the bottom of all this is you have a bed of powder, and on that powder you somehow print a layer on there, some pattern on that layer. You can do it either with a laser or with ink jetting that you then harden or whatever it happens to be. And then you create that hard powder layer. And then that part sinks down, you put another layer of powder over there, and then you stamp or embed another pattern onto it. And that's how you grow a part. When all is said and done, the bed raises back up and you have a part embedded in powder like it's a fossil in the dirt. So you dig out all of your parts and pieces inside of there. You generally fill out a full build volume with a bunch of different pieces in order to be efficient. But you pull all your parts out of there, you put them into a strainer, you knock off all the powder, and then you spray them, and then you paint them, and then you knock off some more powder. They don't have any supports, which is really nice about the powder bed systems. Generally fairly homogeneous and isotropic parts. There's some danger of warping and that kind of thing, but generally that's the fault of your service provider to have to deal with. But it's a good quality parts, generally kind of expensive because it's very tough to scale a dinosaur dig into thousands of parts, again, unless you're making the really small parts. So those are the three primary processes out there. You have FDM, which is hot nozzle squirting out plastic, resin, which is a vat of liquid that hardens, and then powder-based systems, which are a tub of powder that is hardened. So hopefully that's a good overview of the different 3D printing processes out there. Let us know what other kind of things you want to talk about in 3D printing down in the comments. Thanks, everybody.